What's up? Happy Canada Day, everybody. I know the country is a little different than it used to be, but hey, so are we. Let's go. Welcome to a very special and very spontaneous episode of Remember When Radio. I was having coffee this morning at Tim Hortons on Canada Day. Why not? And I saw the Canada flags flying, and all of a sudden I remembered, oh yeah, it's Canada Day. And I started thinking back on what that means as Canadians now and for this country, how things have changed so much from when we were younger. And I also started reflecting back on Canada days from the past. And I realized I've had some absolutely amazing and absolutely crazy Canada days. And I thought, let's do an episode. So here we are. And if you're listening to this on Canada Day, you are awesome. And I hope this gives you something even more enjoyable than the potential holiday you've got today. Let's just jump right in. Now, Canada Day when you were a kid, that was something really different. That was an awesome holiday if you were a young Canadian because it meant a bunch of different things. It meant spending time with your family, spending time with your friends, celebration, the start of summer, usually warm, beautiful weather, and of course, fireworks. And I grew up in Victoria, which is the capital of British Columbia. That's actually the background behind me. That is what is that? The Empress Hotel behind me, and that's the Inner Harbor waterfront there. Absolutely beautiful. And if you're from Victoria, you know that that's where the big time Canada Day celebrations take place. And I bet many of you watching have stood in that exact spot and hung out with friends and family and watched the fireworks and had some really memorable times there. One thing I remember about being down at the Inner Harbor on Canada Day, at least before it got dark out and all the rowdy crazies were, roaming through the crowd with way too much to drink. I remember it was such a good feeling being downtown on Canada Day in Victoria. It was fun. And one of the best memories I have from being a kid on Canada Day and being down there was they had this ice cream stand. It was a cart, a little kiosk, and they were selling Canada cones. And it was a waffle cone with vanilla ice cream and strawberries. And she's like, I feel like when I was down there that Canada Day, I was probably about 10 or 12. I was down there with my brothers and my mom. I think my dad was working, which probably really sucked on Canada Day. That was a probably awful day to be a paramedic. But I remember just getting these delicious waffle cones with my family and thinking, this is awesome. Like, what a great place I get to live and grow up, and what an awesome holiday this was. It was just so fun. Like, I don't have a ton of early memories of Canada Day, but that's one of them. Just being down at the waterfront. It was probably like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so still nice and early. We didn't all the not all the rowdy drunks were out yet partying and roaming the streets, but it was such a good time. And these Canada cones, I think it was like $5 for a giant waffle cone with vanilla ice cream and strawberries on it. And I'm sure at the time that price was outrageous. I'm sure my mom was like, $5. Jeez, can you believe these prices? But nowadays that seems like a pretty good deal. So my whole family, we all got those delicious Canada Day cones, and we just walked around the Inner Harbor together, and we, hung out on the Empress Lawn for a little bit. It was so much fun. Another big memory I have from Canada Day as a kid was I remember I had a really awesome, well, I still do. Like my neighborhood, my street is really, really tight and really awesome. And a lot of the families who live there are friends with each other. And so we used to have like our whole neighborhood go down, not our whole neighborhood, but lots of people from the neighborhood go down and put out blankets on the lawns of the Empress Hotel and just like hang out for the afternoon and stay until the evening to watch the fireworks. And I know a lot of families did that in Victoria, and that was such a really cool celebration. You're out with your friends, your family, you're 10 years old, running around, eating ice cream, getting ready for the fireworks. Like, man, it was such a good, fun, friendly vibe when that happened. And then, of course, like the most exciting part, I think probably for everybody, was when it got a little darker and the fireworks would come on. And I actually, sounds like a crusty curmudgeon. I don't like fireworks anymore as an adult. But man, like I think most kids just love fireworks, and I know a lot of adults still love fireworks. And there was nothing like the fireworks on Canada Day. And I don't really go to the fireworks celebrations anymore. Um, but man, those were so special when you were a kid or when you were maybe even a grown up and you had your family there. Just like, I don't know, it was just this comforting feeling being down there watching the fireworks go. They often had live music and stuff like that. Like it was a big time celebration. That was just such a beautiful, innocent memory when I look back on just that pure childhood innocence, spending time with the people you love. Like I say, just the simple things in life. Eating ice cream, spending time with your family and your friends, and just enjoying that absolutely feel good vibe that we used to have back then. And then of course you get a little older and things change. You can still be hanging out with your friends and family and you can still have a feel good vibe. But as you get older, things definitely start to change a little bit. Like for example, I don't know how old I was. I think I was like 19. I was somewhere in my 19s or maybe 20s. I don't know, 21. I can't remember. Anyways, it was Canada Day, and I remember it was like around lunchtime, and I was eating lunch, and I was watching. Do you remember that show Real TV, where it was usually full of like horrible accidents and tragedies and things like that that were all caught on video camera somehow? So I was watching Real TV, and it was about this fireworks celebration somewhere in the States. I don't know exactly what happened, but they had like a barge out on the water that was supposed to shoot the fireworks off of it. And there was some kind of malfunction, and fireworks actually started exploding on the barge rather than shooting up into the air and exploding. And then things just went to hell in a handbag really fast because all of a sudden the fireworks started shooting into the crowd, and people were getting like really badly maimed and burned and injured, and it was screaming and people running all over the place. It was a huge disaster, and tons of people had to go to the hospital and be treated for burns and all really, really bad stuff. So I'm sitting there on Canada Day and I'm watching this go down. I'm like, oh man, that's awful. I'm going downtown tonight and there's gonna be fireworks. Oh, I didn't know that could happen. Oh man, I better keep an eye out. I better be like vigilant, right? So I head downtown with my friends and it was really fun. Like I think we took the bus down because we were all of legal age, so we were all having a few drinks and stuff like that and hanging out. And so we're down there and like, yeah, I feel good and it's like a good vibe. But I remember that year the cops were doing something weird where they're getting on the buses and they were absolutely not allowed to do this, by the way. And they started like searching people's bags and backpacks and everything like that because they were trying to keep alcohol out of downtown, which I totally get. Like, I don't really drink anymore, and drinking has never led anyone to make a good decision. Let's put it that way. And you get thousands of people together, all drunk and drinking, and there's no way that that's going to be good for society. And so the cops are trying to nip this in the bud. And I get what they were doing, but still, it was illegal. You can't just board a bus and search everybody. And they had all these foot patrol roadblocks set up downtown as well, where they'd have a group of cops on certain busy streets and they'd be searching people, which really was not cool. And I didn't want to deal with that. So there was already a really tense environment downtown. Like it was not the fun, friendly, feel good environment we'd had before. And you know, I respect the cops when they do their job, but at the same time, I don't like feeling like I'm living in a police state here where they can just come up and search you for no reason. And I just didn't want to have an interaction with that. So we avoided the cops, but I might have had a couple beers stashed in my bag. But like I said, I was, legal age, 20 or 19 or whatever. So not a huge deal. And I wasn't getting wasted, just having just a couple of drinks, on Canada Day, like everybody. But anyways, so the environment downtown is a little tense and that puts me on edge. And we make our way down to the inner harbor to the waterfront there. Actually, if you see in the background, if you're watching this on YouTube, um, pretty much exactly there. And it was really busy. But like I said, it was a little tense. I don't know. People were kind of getting into shenanigans early, and I saw a couple of people getting arrested already. So, bit of a weird, tense vibe in the atmosphere this year. Not the one that I remembered from childhood. So, so I'm on edge a little bit, and we're down there, and sun's starting to set a little bit and we're getting ready for the fireworks and everyone's kind of jockeying for position, but they're still maybe like 10, 15 minutes away, and I'm looking at that barge out there on the water, and I'm thinking about that real TV episode that I watched, and I'm thinking, wouldn't it be crazy if that happened here? And all of a sudden you hear this boom, and I was like, yeah, what? And no firework shot off into the air. and I hear another loud boom. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's happening. And I freaked out like I often have in my life. I freaked out. I did a full 180. I was close to the wall. Like they have a big cement seawall there, like made of stones and stuff. I say it to all my friends. I'm like, get out of here. They have no idea what I'm doing. I'm like, get out, it's gonna blow. Turn around, do a full 180. I did some crazy Spider-Man sprint climb up the wall. I leaped up the wall. These were the days my brother and I were doing parkour a lot, so I was actually like, pretty good at that, despite my earlier stories of injuring myself. I start climbing up the wall, and I toss the leg over and I grab the railing of the cement staircase. And the people are staring at me like, what the hell is this guy doing? This guy must be on some crazy drugs. I wasn't. I was just paranoid. And I climb up the steps. I leap over. I start running. I'm like, get out of here. I look like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible when he's just sprinting like crazy. And I sprint for a good like 15, 20 seconds to where I feel I'm at a safe distance from any potential fireworks shit into the crowd. And then I kind of start to realize that like no one else is running. No one else is sprinting. No one else is screaming or telling their friends to get the hell out of there. And I kind of slow down and I stop and I turn around and I realize absolutely nothing is happening. But I now look like a very suspicious individual. There's a couple cops kind of looking at me, like wondering if I'll be the next arrest that night. Got this crazy guy on PCP here, just climbed the seawall. And I realized there was no danger. And I kind of like, huh, okay. So I relaxed a little bit. I'm surprised I went back. Like modern day Adam would not have gone back because it's really embarrassing, And I go back through the crowd that's just seen me like climb up, scale the wall, and jump over the steps and sprint away yelling like it's gonna blow. And I just kind of make my way back to my friends, and I'm like, huh, really thought something was happening. They're like, "Dude, are you okay?" And it's like, oh, it's real TV. I blame real TV, you know? And as embarrassing as that moment was, it was actually more impressive. And that's what my friend Steve said to me. He's like, you know what, man? He's like, that was pretty crazy, but that was a really impressive climb. Yeah. You know, two things. Super humiliating, but I was really proud of if that had been a real incident, hey man, I would have survived and I would have been okay. I would have been one of the guys being interviewed on the news later, be like, well, I saw it coming a mile away. I was the first guy out of there, you know? Would have been, yeah, would have been my own episode of Real TV, and I would have been the guy sprinting to safety while everyone else just stood around getting blasted with fireworks. That's fun. I love that. I love that memory of Canada Day. Totally ridiculous. You know what? Around that same time, this was the worst Canada Day of my life. Just because it's a holiday doesn't mean it's going to be awesome. It actually started awesome, and then it turned into the worst Canada Day of my life. So I'm downtown. This was the following year. So still around the same age. I think I was 21. Yeah, that sounds about right. I was 21, and this is when I had this awesome group of friends. These are the guys from the Seasons of Friendship episode, those guys I was in a band with, and I became friends with all of their friends, and they were just such an awesome group of guys. And they were also friends with some really, really awesome girls, and it was just this really, really amazing group of people. Well, we decided to all go downtown for Canada Day, do the usual, right? Get together. We got together. I think we had like a little barbecue or something. Like everyone was just having such a good time. It was like the sun was out, sky was blue, July 1st, summer had just started, like school was done. Everything was just awesome, right? It was such a good vibe, such a good feeling. And so we were all just hanging out, having an amazing time. And then we piled in a few different cars and we headed downtown. And it was just such a fun vibe. And I remember just like it was such a party atmosphere downtown. And you take a few guys who were like anywhere from like 18 to 21, 18, 19, 21, that age range, and you let them loose on Canada Day, and man, they're gonna have a great time. And it was all positive, right? Like, dude, everyone was so friendly. I remember strangers like high-fiving each other on the street, be like, "Happy Canada Day," and just like, "Woo!" Those really fun times. And it was such a good vibe downtown. And it was a total opposite of the year before, where the cops had been out and searching people. And so I thought, this is going to be such a good night. And it was for a long time, up until it wasn't. But we're not quite there yet. So let's stay on the good part. Anyways, we're hanging out, we're having fun. I remember like just before the fireworks happened, we were on the lawn of the Empress, which is just kind of where people seem to naturally migrate to. We're on the lawn of the Empress, and I can't remember if my friends knew this girl or she was there, but there's this really good looking, beautiful blonde young woman sitting on the bench, and I think one of my friends knew her and introduced me. And so I just wound up sitting on the bench and talking to her for like 30 seconds. And you know when you can sense there's a vibe with someone like instantly? Well, this was one of those instant vibes, and we're chatting, and the mood was so good, and there's just a little bit of tension in the air, and we're looking at each other. I was like, "How about a Canada Day kiss?" And she's like, "Okay." And the next thing I know, me and this beautiful blonde that I just met her having a beautiful Canada Day kiss on the lawns of the Empress. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is like, I don't think Canada Day gets much better. This is really, really cool. And that's all it was, right? It was just fun. It was like one of those things you do when you're young and crazy and whatever. And it was fun. That was it. And then I got her number after that and stuff like that. And actually wound up being someone I hung out with and became friends with and stuff like that, which was awesome. But it was just like it was just that whole vibe of the night. People were so friendly and just like so out there and just open and having an awesome time. And I'm sure I'm not the only guy who pulled that line off that night, but it was so fun. Anyways, but like 45 minutes later, the sun's going down, fireworks about to start, and me and all these guys and the couple girls we were with make our way down to the seawall. And I didn't run away this time, and I didn't scale the wall, and there was no explosions. But I remember like they met up with another group of friends of people they knew, and there was this other girl there, this beautiful brunette. And again, it was the vibe was just so good. Well, as the fireworks start, this girl just like leans into me and just starts kind of like cuddling up to me. I was like, oh, this is awesome. And this was like me like trying to get over, like still getting over the last little hangover of a bad breakup, right? And you know when you break up with someone, it's like one of the things that really helps you get over it is meeting new people. Well, so now not only I had met this beautiful blonde like, half an hour ago, now I got this beautiful brunette who's like sidling up to me. This is really nice. And I remember it was this really nice feeling of just like we like watched the fireworks and we're just kind of like cuddling up a little, leaning against the seawall. This beautiful like the skies like it's not dark, but it was dusk, right? And oh my God, man, the fireworks were so good. The vibe was so good. The mood was so good. And thinking like this is awesome. This is like the best Canada Day of my life. And everything kind of like fireworks end. It's gets a little darker. All right, we're gonna go back to my friend's house and we're gonna keep the party going, right? Like this is just a night that doesn't stop. So we kind of like as we're walking back towards the cars, there's throngs of people everywhere, and our group gets a little bit split up. But me and like the guys I was with, we got to our car first, and we're just kind of sitting there waiting for the other guys because we were parked in the same spot. And we see them come in, and we're kind of looking like, out the back window. We're all in the car, and we realized that like one of the dudes in our group was like having some kind of interaction with someone across the street, and we couldn't quite tell what was going on, but they were kind of like jawing at each other a little bit. And I'm thinking, all right, dude, like, don't be an idiot. Just get in the car, right? It's been such a good night. Just get in the car. Let's get out of here, right? Well, the guy did not think that that was a smart thing to do. And he decided to keep jawing at this crazy idiot across the street. Okay, well, the next thing you know, the guy from my group, let's just call him Dre, even though that's not his real name. Let's just call him Dre. All of a sudden, there's this huge black guy. And when I say huge, he wasn't super necessarily super tall. He was taller than I was, but the guy was just like built like a house. You know what I mean? And like one of these guys that you just look at and you're like, I'm not going to mess with that guy. Well, this guy now has Dre basically pinned up against his car and he's in his face and he's threatening to beat him up and kill him. And I'm watching all this go down and we're in the car right in front, right? I'm like, yo, guys, we got to get out and help him. So I get out of the car, assuming the other four guys in the car are going to also get out and help. I turn around, no one else got out of the car. I'm like, well, this is awesome. This is off to a great start here. So I kind of like walk up to the guy. I was like, yo, dude, like, yo, man, like, oh, let's just calm down. Like, nothing needs to happen here. Sorry if my friend mouthed off to you. He's just drunk. He's being an idiot. He doesn't know what he's doing. And the other guys did get out of the car eventually, but not right away. But I was like, yo, man, like, we don't need a problem. Like, I was like, there's six of us and there's one of you, and no one needs to get hurt, and let's just cool it, man. And the guy was like threatening to be, I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill him. And then he looks at me, he's like, I'm gonna knock you out. I'm gonna knock you out. And I was like, yo, dude, like, just chill out, right? And finally, the guy calmed down and he leaves. He starts walking away. And dude, I was like, my adrenaline was really high, right? I'm not a fighter. I didn't want to get in a fight with anybody. My yellow belt from when I was in grade four is probably not going to be too much help at this point. And I just didn't want some kind of altercation, right? So the guy leaves, and I kind of like, holy smokes, dude, like, whew, right? Like big exhale, calm down and talk to Dre. I'm like, dude, what was that about? Like, that was crazy. And then all of a sudden, I see something out of the corner of my eye, and I turn around, and the guy had left, right? And he was gone. Like, I assumed he was gone, right? And I just see something out of the corner of my eye, and as I start to turn, just boom, boof, huge sucker punch right in the jaw. I'd never been hit that hard in my entire life. It was like getting hit with a slab of concrete. And I was so stunned because it was so unnecessary. And I hadn't done anything except like talk this guy down and say like, dude, come on, like let's all just have a good night here, right? Before I could even like fathom what was going on, boom, right in the nose, splits my nose open, bleeding everywhere. I think my nose is still a little crooked to this day because of that effing idiot. Anyways, now my nose is bleeding like crazy. I'm standing there stunned, right? Like, and now the guy, I didn't know what to do. I've never been punched in the face like that. Worst fights I ever had was with my older brother, and we were pretty respectful. We didn't punch each other in the face. So I'd never been punched in the face before, and I'd never been punched. If I had, no way I would have been punched that hard. Like, it was unbelievable. It felt like some like supervillain from like a Dick Tracy or a Batman movie who had like a concrete fist. My God, it hurt. And I didn't know what to do. I was just standing there, blood pouring out my nose. My jaw felt like it had been like unhinged. It was so painful. And I'm lucky the guy walked away. But he's like, I'm gonna knock you out. I'm gonna knock you out. And I was standing there thinking, I was like, the only win I have from this is that guy hit me twice in the face without me expecting it, and I'm still standing. And that was my small little victory as I sat there bleeding and looking like a total idiot in front of all these people. And I remember, like, in that moment, I was so mad. I was so mad at all the other guys because they just stood there stunned and they hadn't got hit the way I had, right? And the guy just walked away. And I remember thinking, like, should I go after that guy? Like, because like when he hit me, I was blindsided. I think had I seen it coming, I might have been a little more prepared for it. Probably a good thing I didn't go after him, especially at that point in time. I was pretty shocked, right? And I don't know, man. I don't think it would have gone my way if it had just been me. But I was also disappointed that all these other guys just let him get away, right? Like nobody hit him back, nobody tackled him, nobody did anything. No one, there's five other guys there. They could have held him until the cops got there. But now he just walks away scot-free, and these other guys just stand there. And I was like, oh, thanks, guys. And I was really pissed at Dre because Dre had started this whole thing, and I pretty much saved him from getting his ass kicked. And as a reward, I'm the guy standing there with a busted nose and a jaw that feels like it's, been whacked by a bag of bricks. And needless to say, that ruined my night. That really ruined my night. The blonde girl on the bench was a distant memory, and the beautiful brunette watching the fireworks with wasn't making me feel any better. Man, I was in so much pain. Like, I was sore for days. It was awful. And I remember like the next day being so sore, and I went home and I told my parents like, "Ah, I got sucker punched," and they were upset, and they didn't want to know that like that had happened, and now they're worried about me and all this stuff. And um it's not a fun day in my life, that's for sure. And the thing is, like, it actually traumatized me for a long time. And it actually made me afraid. Anytime I saw a black guy who looked similar to this guy, I freaked out. Like, it really had a lasting effect. I remember the next day we went to Thetis Lake, and I was talking to my friends, and there's a black guy there. And I was like, oh my God, it's him. Right. And I just like, I had this horrible like fear of similar looking people for a long time. And it was awful, man. It really sucked. But you know, the really crazy part about this story is that I think getting punched in the face and attacked by that out of control maniac that night actually saved my life. And it's weird how this worked out because I want to fast forward about 7 or 8 months later to spring, the next spring. Okay, so almost a year, but not quite. Well, this is when I was going to UVic. And as my friends used to hang out in the photo lab and do all kind of they like took pictures and they um developed their own film and stuff like that. And it was like their weekend thing. They would I don't know how they had access to it, but they did. And they'd go down and they'd have a couple drinks and they put music on and like it was super fun. It was super fun. And they invited me that night and I'd never been. So I was like, yeah, I'll go. And this was me still hanging out with the girl that I wasn't with anymore, but man, we couldn't break up. It was that weird thing. We just couldn't break up. And so we went together and all my other friends, a few of my friends from high school were there. And we had such a great time. And then me and my other friend and I'll just call her my girlfriend, even though she wasn't really my girlfriend still, you know, at the time, we decided to leave. And just as we come out of the building, there's this really bad group of guys hanging out. I'd say there's about 8 guys. And we come out of the building and they're staring at us, and you could feel their bad intentions immediately. And I was like, oh, shoot. Okay, let's just walk. Let's just walk past. I can almost, the car's a minute away. Let's just walk, right? Don't look at them. Don't say anything. And then my idiot friend that I was with blurts out, "Oh, hey guys, there's an all-male dance party in there if you want to check it out." Because we had been making jokes that we were at an all-male dance party, right? And now my friend tells these 8 guys who already look like trouble and are giving us bad vibes that they should go to the all-male dance party. Insinuating what? And it doesn't matter what is insinuating because there is no justification for what these guys did. But as soon as my friend said that, I was like, oh, dude, you idiot. Because now this group of 8 guys goes, what? And now they're following us. So now there's this bad group of dudes following us and there's no one else around. And I'm like, oh, great, way to go. So we just keep walking. I was like, dude, just keep walking. Like, don't say anything. But my friend can't stop himself. And he's John and he's saying stuff to these guys. And it's a back and forth. And I was like, oh, this is so bad. We get to the car. And just as we're at the car and my girlfriend was gonna drive, like we're like 6 feet from the car. And then one of these guys gets in front of us and he grabs my friend and he tries to headbutt him, but he kind of missed a little bit. He like grabbed my friend's jacket out of nowhere and like boom, tried to headbutt him. My friend kind of like blocked a little bit, but it still hit him in the chest. And I don't know if it got him in the chin a little bit or not. Then he shoves my friend and he looks at me and he makes his way towards me. Like he's obviously going to attack me, right? And his other buddies are getting ready too. And the thing that flashed back in my mind was that crazy black guy from Canada Day who sucker punched me, right? And in my mind, I saw that and I was like, no, not again. And as this crazy other kid is coming towards me, boom, right in the jaw. And that gave me a little bit of time, right? Not much because his friends were in there right away and they tackled me and now I'm on the ground and I'm getting kicked. But I thought I was going to die. I actually thought I was going to die. I remember being on the ground, getting swarmed by this group of absolutely awful people and thinking I'm going to die because people get killed and stuff like that. Um, it's not uncommon if someone gets kicked in the head in the wrong spot and their life is over. And I thought that was it. I was like, this is how I'm going to die by getting like gang beat at my university by these like 8 idiots. Anyways, my friend must have jumped in at the same time and pushed a couple of these guys off. So I'm up again and I see the security building. It's like really, it's pretty close to us, right? So I start sprinting towards the security building, trying to get help. And as I'm running, this first guy, this blonde kid, this white guy who punched me, he's sprinting after me. And this is like something in a movie. It's like Mortal Kombat. I'm running. I let him get a little close and I slow down and I do like a 360. And as I do a 360, boom, catch him right across the jaw again. And that stopped him. That stunned him. And I get to the security building and there's a couple of security guards there. And I was like, you guys got to help. We're getting killed. We're getting our asses kicked. So I run back over to my friend. The security guard's right behind me. I reach in my pocket and I had two full beer cans. And I'm watching my friend. He's now surrounded by these eight guys, and they're punching him and kicking him. Reach in my pocket, pull this beer can, hurl it like a missile, and it went just over one of the guys' heads. And I was like, oh, no, I take out the other one. Again, like a missile. I missed. I missed by like a half an inch, and I thought, oh my gosh, if only that beer hit can had connected, I would have taken out two of those guys. That would have been awesome. Didn't happen. I just missed. I grazed them, grazed the guy's hairline. Thank God those security guards were there because there was about four or five of them, and they look official, and they got, they were able to stop it, and that was a rough night. But I honestly think that maybe like without that crazy Canada Day incident, without getting punched in the face, I wouldn't have been prepared for that attack, right? Because at least this time I was more aware. I saw it come in, and I was able to hit the guy before he hit me. And who knows, maybe he had hit me first. It would have been a bad punch. I might have got knocked out. You never know what's going to happen. But I honestly think that getting attacked on Canada Day saved my life. Isn't that weird? How you can go through something like horrible and it's just so awful at the time, but it might actually be preparing you for something down the road. I thought about that today, and I never actually put that together until this morning when I was writing the script for this. That, well, actually, that's not true. I have thought about that before. But yeah, just like, man, what if I hadn't been ready? What if that first guy hadn't taught me a lesson to be more aware of my surroundings and to not wait for someone to hit you first? I'm lucky. Lucky I got punched in the face. All right, that's enough of this serious talk. I now present to you my favorite and funniest Canada Day story of all time, starring my friend Steve. I've waited a long time to tell this. I never knew where I was going to tell this. I got Steve's permission to tell this one. He said, just don't use his last name. That's totally fine. His name's Steven Tyler. No, just kidding. All right. So I'm going to take it back 20 years. And the reason I thought about this today was because I was sitting there having coffee this morning and I was like, I looked at my phone and it's like, oh, it's July 1st, 2026. Oh, that's crazy. It's been 2 years since I moved to Vancouver. Oh, or 2 years. Sorry, 20 years since I moved to Vancouver. And then it also hit me. I was like, dude, that crazy Canada Day was also 20 years ago. And so I texted my friend. I was like, hey, dude, crazy to think that that Canada Day was a full 20 years ago. And he laughed and he texted me back. He was like, yeah, that was crazy. Happy Tamer Canada Day, right? And so we wished each other a tame Canada Day. But it took me back. It took me back to that story. So we're gonna go. It is July 1st, 2006. Kitsilano, Vancouver. Adam LaRue has been living in Vancouver for about a month now. Living the life, right? He's doing stand up. He's living in Kits. Life's hard, but life's also awesome. It's a crazy adventure right now. One of his best friends in the whole world, Steve, shows up about 9:30, probably 9 a.m. on his back patio because he lived on a ground floor bachelor apartment at Gary Manor, the corner of 8th and U Avenue, Kitsilano, Vancouver. Beautiful spot. Steve rolls up on my back patio, just climbs over, right? Comes in. Hey, man, happy Canada Day. Yeah, happy Canada Day, dude. We're hanging out. We're having fun. My friend Chris shows up about 20 minutes later, despite the fact that it's quite early in the morning. Well, it's a holiday and we're all of age. We were like 23, 24. We're having a couple of Canada Day drinks. Let's get this party started, right? The vibe is awesome. The vibe is awesome in my apartment. Well, let's make the vibe even more awesome by heading down to Kits Beach. For people who don't live in Vancouver, Kits Beach is absolutely amazing. Um, you know what? Hold on a second. I'm going to change my background on my computer. Hold on. There we go. This is Kitsilano Beach, Vancouver. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see the background. It's one of my favorite places in the entire world. And man, I had some of the best times of my life at this beach. Canada Day 2006 was one of those times. So me, Steve, and Chris, we wound up at Kits Beach. And on the way down there, the vibe was so good, right? It was like something out of a movie or something out of a TV show. It was just so good, dude. It was July 1st, summer, and I'd been in Vancouver a month. I was kind of getting used to it. I'd actually just discovered Kits Beach a couple weeks before, and it's just such a magical place. Anyone who lives there knows how awesome it is. And everyone's in a good mood. People are saying Happy Canada Day to each other. They're high-fiving each other. People are wearing Canada Day flags and dressed all in red and all that stuff. And man, it was so fun. And so by 10 a.m. we're down there and the vibe is awesome. And even like attractive Vancouver women were talking to us. And if you're from Vancouver, you know that that like does not happen. You get an attractive Vancouver woman starting a conversation with you, like you probably either got a lot of money or they're just having a great day. Because Vancouver women are not known for their openness or approachability. No offense to any Vancouver women who are listening who are approachable and open, but Vancouver guys too. I know that they have their stereotypes, but I'm just saying. That's the picture I'm painting. Vancouver people in general are not known for being social and open. So this was just like, it was awesome. It was a great day. People were friendly and the vibe was just so good. And this was back in the day when like bylaws were a lot more lax and stuff. So, people were hanging out at the beach. They were having some drinks, they were playing volleyball, they were doing whatever. They were, maybe doing some other stuff, which is legal now, but it wasn't back in the day, but the bylaw and the cops were just kind of turning a blind eye. And it was like a party atmosphere, but it was a real feel good, fun party atmosphere. And so Steve, Chris, and I were at that beach for a couple hours, maybe like 3 hours, I don't know. And now we're gonna walk along the waterfront and we're gonna go to meet Chris's friends at Jericho Beach. And man, people who live in Vancouver know how beautiful Jericho Beach is. If you haven't been to Jericho Beach and you haven't been to Vancouver before, you have to go. It is just this absolute beautiful paradise. And they have like huge like parkland there and big grass fields and there's duck ponds and willow trees and it's right on the ocean and it is so beautiful. And so we're walking down along First Avenue or whatever, York or whatever it's called. No, Cornwall. We're walking down the street. We're walking along the whole waterfront. Vancouver's cool because you can literally like walk along the entire waterfront to different parts of the city often. And so we went from Kits Beach to Jericho Beach. And when we get there, we meet up with Chris's friends and people have their little hibachis and they're playing bocce ball and all that croquet and like it was just so fun. People were friendly, people were playing music. It was awesome. And now the sun's we've been there like all day. We've been out hanging out, partying all day back when you could do that. And as the sun starts to, it's dipping late. It's maybe like 7 o'clock now. And Chris's friend was having a party at their house, which we're all invited to. So like, okay, we're gonna leave Jericho Beach and we're gonna um Chris was going to meet us at the party, so he gave us the address. Okay, great. And for some reason, Steve and I wanted to go to my house. I don't know what we were doing, grabbing a bite to eat or something like that, or maybe grabbing some more road pops or something. I don't know what we were doing, but we went back. We went back to my house for some reason. And once we get to my apartment, it was about it's probably like a 40-minute walk. It's not it's not a super close walk. It was about 40 minutes. But, it was Canada Day and we were having fun and the weather was beautiful. So it was a fun 40-minute walk. Well, once we were back in my apartment, Steve realized he had left his backpack at Jericho Beach. And he's like, oh my gosh, I left my bag. I left my backpack. I got to go get it. And I was like, oh, shoot, man, you got to get there quick before someone steals it. So I said, take my bike, go get your stuff. We'll meet up at Chris's party. He said, yeah, okay. All right, man. So we go into the garage of my apartment. Gary and men are there. 2228 West 8th Avenue. And I'm on the sidewalk with Steve and I give him my bike. I'm like, all right, man, I'll see you at the party. And he goes, yeah, man, see you there. And the last image I have of Steve from that night before his whole world went to hell was him riding my bike down 8th Avenue, down the steep hill, full speed, standing up on the pedals going, Happy Canada Day! Woo! And like totally fine, right? Like, yeah, he'd been having a couple drinks, but he was in good spirits and everything was fine. And I just watched him go down the hill and I'm thinking, that guy. It's it was like a crazy Leave It to Beaver, oh, that's Steven. So anyways, I do whatever I'm doing at home and I head out and I go to this other party. It's maybe like 20 minutes away from my apartment and I meet Chris. And we're like, well, Steve should be here, soon enough. Like I tell Chris what happened and we're like, yeah, okay, Steve should be here. 20 minutes goes by, no Steve. Yeah, okay, fine. Half an hour. He's kind of taking his time. Maybe he's looking for his bag. I don't know. Okay, 45 minutes. Where's Steve, right? An hour. I don't know. Something, I don't know, hour and a half. Like, okay, something's up. Like, something's up. Now, this was the days before everybody had a cell phone. So Chris had a phone and Steve had a phone, but I didn't have a phone. And this was also before texting, at least texting like it is today, where texting was a huge pain in the ass to actually text people. And so we called Steve about an hour and a half after he was supposed to be there. He said, no answer. Oh, this is getting a little suspicious. Well, I don't know. Something's up. Something's up. We're like starting to get a little bit worried. Okay. So about 10 minutes later, Chris's phone rings and it's Steve's number. And we answer it and we just hear like this. We just hear this like, this like panic breathing on the other end. And we're like, Steve? And we just hear Steve. He's like, oh, I went to the beach and I found my backpack and I was at the party and I'm sorry, but your bike's gone. Your bike got stolen. I was like, what? A homeless guy stole your bike. And he's like, hey, wait a second. Hey. And then he says, hey, that's my bike. And you hear this muffled shuffling. And then you just hear the scuffling and screaming. And Steve, ah, give me my bike. And then the phone goes dead. Chris and I are like, okay. So, okay. So Steve might have just been murdered by a homeless person. Or murdered a homeless person. So now we're getting a little bit worried. Okay. So now we're a little worried. So we decided to like leave the party and start we're gonna go outside and see if we can find Steve, right? And we phone him back. We phone him back, doesn't answer. Calls us back 5 minutes later. I got your bike back. I got in a fight with a homeless guy. He stole your bike. Like, okay, Steve, where are you? Where are you? Steve just has this address where he thinks he is. Okay, and Steve is out of sorts. Like, this is not the Steve who left my apartment like an hour and a half before. This is panicked Steve. It was almost like he had been like given some kind of drug or drugs or something like that. Like this was not the same guy who left my apartment. Anyways, we're like, dude, where are you? We'll come find you. So he gives us his address where he thinks he is. And keep in mind, if there's two main thoroughfares in Kits. There's Broadway and there's West Fourth. So he gives us his address like 3360 Broadway or something like that. So okay, so Chris and I go to 3360 Broadway. Steve is not there, and he's also not answering his phone anymore. And we're like, dude, this is messed up. This is not good. And Chris has this intuition, and good thing we followed it. He's like, you know what, dude? He's like, I bet Steve's so drunk that he's on West Fourth and he just didn't know it. And we're like, well, let's go check. So we go to 3360 West Fourth, whatever. And as we're getting closer, we see there's someone lying sprawled out on the front lawn of this apartment complex, and there's a crashed bike next to him, and there's a woman bending down next to him. Looks like she's giving him first aid. And we're like, oh my gosh, Steve's dead. And so we start sprinting. We're like, something happened to Steve. The homeless guy killed him. Like he crashed his bike. This is really bad. Like we actually thought he was in serious trouble, and he was. I mean, he actually was. So we get there, and it's sure enough, it's Steve, and he's lying there, and this beautiful young woman there, whose name was Mary, like the saint or like an angel, right? Is taking care of him, and she's like, "Is this your friend?" And we're like, "Yeah, that's our friend. These are the kind of people we hang out with, you know." And it's like he's really in rough shape. We're like, "Yeah, what happened, right?" And so Steve is like incoherent, like he's not making any sense. But once he sees us, he kind of sits up and he starts like, "Oh, some homeless guy stole your bike, and I grabbed him and I kicked him in the ass and I knocked him off the bike, and then I took the bike and I drove it here." Then he like passes out of the grass, and we're like, okay. And this nurse is like, I think he really needs some help. We're like, yeah, let's gotta get this guy home. And Steve's like, wait, I want to say you're really nice. Thank you for taking care of me. She's like, well, you're welcome. I'm a nurse. She's like, I'd like to take you out for dinner. Can you hold on a second? And Steve just starts puking his guts out on the front boulevard of this apartment complex in beautiful upscale Kitsilano. Just do you ever know anybody who, when they throw up, it's like they make a terrifying sound, like they yell and scream? Steve, Steve does this weird thing where he doesn't just like throw up, he yells at the same time, and it's absolutely terrifying. It's so scary. In fact, when we were younger, I remember he threw up on someone's lawn one time when we were kids, and it was like midnight, and he was so loud that this guy came out of the house and thought someone was being murdered. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I thought you were getting killed." So that's the level of like volume Steve's producing. So as he's doing this, between throw ups, he's telling this girl that he's gonna take her out for dinner and he wants her number. He's like, you're really beautiful and you're really sweet and special, and I'm gonna take you for dinner and I'm it was disgusting and hilarious. And Chris and I couldn't stop laughing. This girl didn't think it was funny. She felt bad for Steve. She was actually very sweet. But yeah, Chris and I just could not stop laughing because like we knew Steve was gonna be okay. We'd seen him in the state before. We couldn't stop laughing. And by this point, Chris lives in the opposite direction. So the night was over. Clearly, the night was over, and Steve needed to get home. So we say our goodbyes. Chris goes his way. So now I'm walking home carrying Steve. It looked like in a war movie or like a war scenario where like one guy's carrying an injured comrade out of battle and they've got their hands over each other's shoulders and the other guy's like limping and can barely walk. And so I got Steve in one arm, I'm carrying my bike in the other. And unfortunately, we were at the bottom of Fourth Avenue, and there's a really big hill to get back to U Street where I lived. So we got to walk this big hill, and Steve is not doing well. And so every alcove we come across, like every time we came across like some bushes or little apartment alcoves, Steve would go, "Hold on a second, I said, I just hold on a second," and he'd like go and curl up in the fetal position and lie under a bush or like in like the entryway of some apartment complex. Like, dude, like we can't you can't sleep in the bush and you can't just stay curled up in this alcove. We got to get home. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, okay. But that probably happened 3 or 4 times on the way home. I just need a second. Just hold on a second and try to lie under a bush, go to sleep. Like, no, come on, dude. Let's get you home. So finally, we're at the top of this hill. We're at the top of Fourth, and we still got a few blocks to go to my house. Well, we're crossing the street, and there's not much traffic. We're on kind of on the side streets now. And we're crossing the street, and well, like Steve is obviously in distress, right? And there was a car coming, but it was still quite far away. But I had underestimated just how crippled Steve was and how fast this car was going because I'd had a couple drinks too. I wasn't operating at 100% capacity. And as we're walking across the street, clearly in distress, this car, it's a taxi cab. It's clearly not slowing down. And I don't know why I thought I could trust a taxi cab. I'm like, oh, they're the best drivers on the road. They'll see what's happening and give us lots of space. No, wasn't slowing down at all. And so we're halfway across the street. I don't think we're gonna make it. And I say to Steve, I'm like, dude, we gotta go. Like this car's not stopping. Steve just lifts his head, come comes back to life, and I'm not going to swear. Steve said the full swear. I'm not going to do it. I wish I could, but I'm not going to. Steve goes, "Effing cab, stop!" And Steve can yell like no one I've ever heard in my life. This guy, like, if he has a superpower, it's this unbelievable yell. Like, he was at a party one time. Some guy tried to start a fight with him, and Steve yelled at him, and the guy fell down. That is a 100% true story. Steve can yell like no one I've ever heard. So, effing cab, stop! Cab slams on its brakes. They didn't like being talked to like that. Driver leans his head out the window. Hey, buddy, you got a problem? And he's about to start mouthing off to Steve. Steve goes, "Shut the F up, you a-hole!" And gives the guy the double fingers and leaned his whole body into it. He threw his head back, like shaking his fists at this guy, giving him the double fingers. No one has ever been fingered in their life like that. I guarantee you. It was unbelievable. The guy was so scared. He like immediately pulled his head back in the cab, slunk down. I saw him slunk down behind his seat, like slink down and just stare with wide eyes, like he didn't know what just hit him. And then Steve just collapses back into his little comatose state there. And we cross the road. I'm like, dude, that is the craziest thing I've ever seen you do. And we still talk about that like 20 years later. We still talk about that. In fact, and short story long story short, we made it home. A couple blocks later, Steve's on my couch. I get him some water, blankets. Right? Are you okay, man? You okay? Do you need like? Are you okay? Are you gonna be okay? Yeah, yeah, I'm okay. Okay, is he throwing up a few times? I'm no doctor, but by the time we got home, he seemed a little better. I got him a bunch of water and stuff and whatever. All that stuff seems okay. That 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 story will live with me forever. And it will live with Steve forever, and it will live with Chris forever. And I know that because about 5 years ago, 15 years after it happened, I got this random message from Chris on Facebook. We don't like we're friends, but we're not like we don't really talk anymore. We're friendly, right? We're just like we don't really talk that much. Well, we don't talk at all, but like, we're friends on Facebook, whatever. Get this message from Chris. Something about like, hey man, I just climbed to the top of some mountain, some big mountain, and he said he's sitting there on the summit of this big mountain, and he goes, and I thought about that Canada Day. And I was like, dude, that is a story that you summit a mountain, and that's what comes back to you. That is a story that sticks with you forever, right? And I love that story so much, and I long to tell it with full expletives, but I really try to keep the show PG so that everyone can listen to it. Anyways, I love that story so much. And just to put the cap on it, the next day, we wake up. I feel okay. So I feel fine. I feel fine. Back in the days, you didn't get hangovers. Steve's rough. Steve's in rough shape. So I go, dude, let's get some breakfast. It was probably like 10 o'clock in the morning. There's a white spot in our neighborhood. That's what I loved about living in Vancouver and Kitsilano. Like there was something everywhere and you could walk everywhere. It's the best part of living there. I love that place. We walked down a white spot and there was this beautiful blonde waitress. And she's, hey guys, happy Canada Day. But I know it was yesterday, but we're still, hope you had a good Canada Day, blah blah. Okay, it's a um listen, our drink special, we've got mimosas. Let me just stop you right there. I was like, I don't think you want to mention alcohol around this guy. Okay. This guy had a pretty crazy night. Steve's laughing. He's like, yeah, no, let's just not talk about that. Girl laughs and small world. That was the waitress from my episode of Missed Opportunities, that beautiful waitress who put that little spell on me and obviously had a good vibe with, and I was too much of a wussy to do anything about it. Well, that was her. And so we met her on post the most memorable Canada Day I will probably ever have. And I love that story. And every single word of that story is true. I got two witnesses. Um, I just love that story so much. So, Steve, I want to thank you for letting me tell that story. I did get Steve's permission beforehand, and I hope Chris listens to this one too. And I hope he has a good laugh from it. And man, I just want to wish everyone out there a happy Canada Day. Whatever you're doing, I hope it's fun. I hope it's memorable. I'm hoping you're taking some time with friends and family or just yourself to appreciate the good things that we still have in this country. I know things have changed a lot and maybe it's not quite the same as it was, 10, 20 years ago, but we're still lucky to live in such a beautiful place. And I just wish you happy Canada Day, everybody. And if you listen to this episode today, thank you so much. I feel so honored that you would spend part of your day with me. So I hope you have a great time. And I'm looking at that picture of Kit's Beach in the background, and I'm just flooded with wonderful memories of my friends and family growing up, and I'm very grateful for them. So, yeah, and I'm grateful for you for listening. That's it. No big closure today. This was a very spur of the moment episode. I did wear my red Canada Day jacket, which my daughter saw me in and told me she hated it and it was ugly. So, what do you? I had my full red Adidas tracksuit on actually, and for Canada Day, and she's like, "Dad, what are you wearing? Where's your regular clothes?" I was like, "Oh, you don't like this? No, I hate it." Oh, well, that's nice. I don't care. She wasn't born from the '80s. She doesn't understand the power of a full tracksuit the way the rest of us do. Anyway, thanks for listening. Happy Canada Day. I will see you next week.